You look familiar. Is that better? What? Oh, right. That's where everybody is, on the stream. So hi, welcome, thanks for coming. We are so excited about Argus, which is our new collection management system. It's new to us within the last year. And not everything is completely as it's going to be in perfection, but there's a lot here to show. The big difference is that we went from a cataloging system that was standalone, in-house, on our hard drive, on our computer, called Past Perfect, that was the museum software everybody was using in the 90s. And we moved to a system that has a public access portal. You can access it from the internet anywhere on Earth, or probably from space if you have internet. So Past Perfect has passed, and this is going to be more closer to perfect. But it's not 100% there yet. The quick, easy way to get at it, I just want to show you what's on the screen right now is, excuse me, mouse, is the homepage of our content collection management system, Argus. But how you get there is two different ways. One is to just type in archives.forbeslibrary.org, and the other is to click here on this beautiful hand-colored photograph by Walter Corbin of the Oxbow and Mount Tom, where it says Images from the Archives, and that will also take you right back there. So there's some fine print here, and I'm going to tell you about the fine print because I know that nobody would read it otherwise, but it's important. So these are your links back to more information about the special collections within the library. For example, there's a link to the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Library and Museum, which has a web page, which has more links and more information and a little video tour and all these see also things. So Argus, our collection management system, doesn't completely replace the library's website, which also has a whole lot of useful information for you. And similarly, the Hampshire Room for Local History, there's more. The collections in the library, online collections, this one is the one we're on, and others that were born digital, such as the Northampton Community Web Archive. So, oh, and more movies. So if you don't see what you're looking for, or you're just curious what else there is when you're looking at the Argus portal, you can try those links, or this one that says make an appointment to come into the Hampshire Room and see the actual physical objects themselves, or just give us a call and we'll help you find whatever it is you're looking for. So my colleagues Julie Bartlett Nelson, head of this Coolidge Museum, and Dylan Gaffney, local history specialist, are going to talk about some aspects of it. I'm Faith Kaufman, I'm the arts and music librarian, and I'm going to talk about the art that's in here. There are two good ways to get at it. This is, by the way, an open text search, but somebody else is going to show you how that works in about 20 minutes. But I'm going to show you the On View tab. This will bring up everything that is currently in the building, on the wall, in a public space where you can see it. And it has 158 items. Is that more or less than you thought? You know, the building is so big, it seems like, oh my God, there's like 50 things up hanging on the walls. It was actually 3 times that, right? So, and it doesn't even include absolutely everything, because, for example, these Coolidge displays are visible only in the museum, but the portraits that are behind this screen and the paintings up there, they're all in the On View tab, as well as, did anybody pick up this flyer? This is something that we made within the past year. We did a whole project to diversify the art collection, and we made a flyer and a map about the 10 or 12 new artworks by local and regional BIPOC artists. So all of those are in there, so, and all on view. And if you just saw something in the reading room, you're like, wow, that is a beautiful painting there over the fireplace, over the mantelpiece. Who made that? Well, there's a little bit of information on the wall, but if you go into Argus, you can find a lot more detail. So this isn't in an order that you would be looking for it at. This is browsing on view. The order it's actually putting them in is the item number, which is basically like just an identifier. So where you can see that, like right here, are, come on, let's go right there. That one, Plymouth Notch, Vermont. Oh, it's loading really slowly. There's the bottom of the frame. You can see where and when we got it, where it currently lives in the library, I'll say current location, and you can zoom in. So if you're here in the room, you just look at it, but if you're at home, come on. I don't know, it's loading really slow. There we go. So you can zoom in to a larger view of any of the images that are in here. Another way to get at the art collection would be to browse by collection. Any guesses how many collections are in here? Okay, there's the answer, 236. It's because the whole library collection is made up of a number of different special collections. They're named according to what they're about, how we got them, who made them, how they're grouped. And if I just go to the letter F here and go down to Fine Arts, then we have 162, and there are a lot of the same ones that are marked as on view, but not absolutely everything is on view. You could go in by an artist's name if you wanted, just getting back to the starting point. See if the live stream picks up the sirens. And say you had just encountered this Priya Green's Progressions 1, which is a floral, semi-abstract, semi-figurative that we very happily and proudly acquired last year. If you wanted to go directly to let's find out more about who is this artist, this is a new item, you could go by the name that's on the tag there when you see it, or you could just go under, you picked up her name off the flyer or whatever. And so again, the provenance information is there, so you know when we got it and how we paid for it, or if it was donated, and more information about the artist. I'm going to leave this for the moment and take you on a little side trip. because we're working on another access project, and this is not specifically Argus, but they will get connected in the near future. So we did a two-part grant-funded project for increasing access to the artworks in the collection. And the first piece of it was we had 130 or so art and objects in the collections that had never been professionally photographed before we had them professionally photographed. And so those are the photos that you're seeing on Argus for that number of things. But other, there were times in the past we photographed things as well, but we brought it up to date with this grant, and those photographs were supported by grant funds from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, as administered by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. That was one part, and the second part was the audio. So this right now, I'm just going to the same painting again, so you see different facets. Oh, and it's a painting with facets too, so that's nice. We recorded some of the artists talking about their work, and I hope that this sound works. Guess we'll find out.
Library is called Progressions 1. I created this painting during COVID, and during that time, a lot of us were stuck at home, including myself, and I remember just, feeling like I'm stuck at home and just always looking out the window. And it was at that time that I really started to notice this blue light that was coming.
So we're going to pause for a moment. There's also an
Progressions 1, an oil painting by Priya Green.
If you have trouble seeing the image, it should keep going. Why did it not keep going? I don't know, that one got stuck.
Progresiones 1. Óleo sobre lienzo.
Purple and red flowers in a vase sit on a window
now it's doing
ledge.
both of them.
Various abstract cutouts of...
Oh, I stopped the Spanish one and they both stopped. So I don't know, it's something about the in-room system. But the nice thing is that while you're listening to the image description or the artist talking about their work, you can click right through to the Argus record, and then you can click to zoom in. And while it is in there, I am sorry. I'll give it another second. All right, and then we'll stop waiting for it. So you can go from the Artist Talks page to the Special Collections catalog description, and pretty shortly you'll be able to go in the other direction as well. It's like you can go from here and click through to an English or Spanish language description of the item. I'm going to pass this on to, should I put it back on the home page? To, is it Julie or Dylan going next? Dylan, to talk about local history materials.
Hey, so I'm going to highlight some of our photography and local history collections and show you a few quick basic tricks or examples to use when navigating Argus. I think creating opportunities for accidental discovery is nearly as important feature for a catalog as being able to find exactly what you're looking for when you have all the information. And I hope the new system will allow for more folks to find our materials, discover things they didn't know about, especially as we continue to grow the collection and add already digitized materials. So I'm going to start by searching for one of my favorite, whoops, you get to see how bad a typer I am, one of my favorite collections, the Walter E. Corbin collection. So Walter Corbin was a local historian and photographer who, along with his wife Lottie, took beautiful photographs all over Western Massachusetts on various subjects of interest. So if we start by entering Walter Corbin in just the general subject field, or search field rather, we should. I think it's all just slow internet. I think that's what was going on with the audio as well. So we get a number of images, a number of which could be very familiar to you if you've been to our website or on our social media or saw the poster for this program, which used this Holyoke and Mount Tom Ranges hand-colored lantern slide that Faith mentioned. So we see, for
Colors are
instance,
mostly cool and
there's Jill.
dark, except for red.
Wow, that was some delay. So we see, for instance, here's a ProBrush photograph, which is hanging in the Hampshire Room for Local History at the back of here on the second floor. There's a number of other images. Hand-colored a couple of mushrooms. Corbin was a chronicler of the natural world extensively, as well as buildings, gravestones, and other subjects. But if we go back to one of these records, you can see, I just use a general search field, but you can see when the cataloging information comes up, that we also have Walter E. Corbin collection listed as the collection, which is, I could have done a more advanced search, but I'll be honest, I'm a really lazy searcher, so I tend to just use the most general things. I think that might make me good for teaching people new to the collections who also just tend to default to a real general search field before they get into advanced search, or don't feel comfortable, or just don't see that it's an option. So if we click on the Walter E. Corbin collection, we should get roughly the same results, minus a couple which were taken by Walter Corbin but are actually found in outside collections. So they may have been used for a postcard, they may be part of just a general Northampton Images collection. So as I said, I think folks' instinct is to use the simple search field, so I'm always testing what I can find by using that versus using more advanced searches. So I'm just going to type Main Street into the search field, and we'll see what comes up. With this one, there's a lot of variability in how you could write Main Street or how you might describe Shop Row or downtown. With these results, we can see a sort of iconic engraving at the top, but then we see Coolidge's office furniture, which was in his office on Main Street, and then a wealth of images of Notification Day in July 1920. So if we weren't interested in a lot of these and wanted a more broad range of Main Street images, there's a couple different ways we could get past this so we didn't want to scroll. One of the easiest ways is just to type Main Street, not Coolidge. I did not in all caps, but I don't think I really had to. It's just very for emphasis. But you can see we still got a number of the same images, partly because Coolidge is just going to be, it's either not focusing on it at all, oh, there we go. It finally loaded. So it eliminated the office furniture shots, but it didn't eliminate all the other ones because Coolidge actually isn't found in the description of that. It's the collection, but it's not found at all in the descriptive text. So if we did go to advanced search, put Main Street in the description field, not object ID, start with, and then for Coolidge, would be CC, and Julie told me we should use a colon here for best results. We get past those, we eliminate the Notification Day images, and we see a much wider variety of images here. So for these purposes, I'm going to click on the fourth one down, which is Lionel Delavine's 1987 shot of elephants on Main Street during a circus parade. You can see once it loads, you can see the original Bart's Ice Cream location here behind the officer. So we can see that one of the subjects listed here is Main Street with an abbreviation. So we know that that's used as a subject for this. And this is an area we're just really going to have to emphasize and work on, especially this fall with students and volunteers and helpers to try to use consistent subject terms so that we get all of the images together in the same place. But you have to remember these images were all migrated from 2 different software programs done over decades by numerous catalogers. So this is just a steady work that we've been doing for months to try to do this, to get them consistent. So if we do click on Main Street, we get many pages of relevant results, some of them the same, some of them different. Some of them may use both terms. So it's just something that we need to do at our end to make the items more easily findable so people aren't having to anticipate all of these issues. You can see also in this one that the collection that this photograph belongs to is Northampton Images, which is just sort of a catch-all collection with local photographs of Northampton subjects from our special collections. So if we click on that collection, we get a much wider variety of images, which again fits in, we'll cover a wider group of subjects. If we scroll down the page here to what they're calling the Loomis House, this was a house at 63 King Street, right where Friendly's restaurant was for many years, next to A to Z. It's more commonly known as the Ahern Funeral Home. I think that's what it was at the time this photo was taken. But if you look down in the description, it includes the terms Lost Northampton. So that was from an exhibit we did many years ago where we scanned a whole number of photographs of buildings that are no longer standing in Northampton. This is the way I scroll catalogs, one thing to another, just trying to find interesting things. You never know what tangent you're going to go on, but it does allow for a lot of discoverability. So if we take that same term, copy it into the thing, again, we see the Loomis House. We see a number of images of the David Damon House, which was next to historic Northampton, but has been torn down many years ago. We see interiors of the Edwards Church, which are the old Edwards Church, which are very dramatic and nicely lit. And let's see. So this is just an incredible collection and contains lots of things folks may remember or may not, or might just discover about their neighborhood. This one is from Green Street. This was the old boarding house on the corner of Green and Belmont Avenue, which once housed the Quill Bookshop, which a lot of folks have fond memories of in this location and in the building that followed after this burned down. So again, you can see Cosmian Hall. If we continue on through these, we should find, so this is another treasure of the collection, the Maynard Hose Shop, which was, again, further down Green Street. This was the factory that stood at the very end of Green Street, right next to where the waterfall is by Paradise Pond. Huge building, hard to picture it there, current day. And if it will load, we'll see. Grandeur of this photograph. I think it has the staff password in it. Nope. There we go. So again, you can see if it loads the full image. The painting files were, I think, very large files, so I think that's why it was taking particularly long on this. Some of these photographs are a little bit smaller. And I think this is true at home too. If your Wi-Fi is not that good, you may just have to be patient. You might not think it's doing anything, but it will continue to work. And then when you are ready to give up on it, it will suddenly appear to you. But anyway, so that's the factory at the end. On one of these, this one here, which I won't try to load, you can actually see looking down Green Street. You can see where the tower was and really picture it in its place. It was, yeah, I know, right? They're making hose and all sorts of other implements there. I think it was a much more blue-collar neighborhood at that point. So there's so many treasures in this. One of my other favorite ones is another one, which I think when you're studying local history, it's really interesting to get back and imagine these places that are now so familiar to you. What did they actually look like at that time? So one of the most dramatic ones for those purposes is the Bowers House, which was on Prospect Street on the downtown side of Round Hill. And hopefully the photo loads so we can sort of get a sense of how different architecturally it was than everything else in the city now, with these giant, slowly revealing pillars. Drum roll. My God. Yeah. So looks nothing at all like anything else on Round Hill Road now. It was really just a mansion of sorts. Now, so hesitant to click on anything, but if you do see this full screen, one of the things you notice is that in front of this grand mansion with its huge pillars is a cow staring straight into the camera. You may be able to see him right there. So I noticed that in this record, under subjects, it says cow. So I thought I'd click on that and see, all right, there's got to be some other cows in our collection. What else comes up when you click on cow? Man, oh man. All right, I'll spoil it for you. Nothing else comes up when you click on cow, which is really surprising, right? For anybody who knows our collection, there's a lot of farming photos, a lot of things like that. So I'm determined to figure out why that is, and I have some ideas, but I'm going to switch to one of our other favorite collections, and we'll come back to the cows. So if we search for Robert Emmerich of Leeds, who is another wonderful photographer who took thousands and thousands of images we have here in the collection, you can see this one of the train wreck in Haydenville showed up for on-view items that Faith showed. It's one of the son of an engineer at Norwood Engineering is a remarkable picture. This one of two boys in front of a popcorn wagon at the Three County Fair seems particularly relevant this week and is a really amazing photograph. But also, if you click on Robert Emmerich collection, again, getting into the collection rather than just the name, and then search cow, oh, it didn't go, that's right, I didn't limit the search. It's a good lesson. Would have made the same point, but. So I'm entering Emmerich in the collection name, cow in the description, hitting enter or selecting search over here, perform the search, and there is one cow image within Emmerich's. I know this seems like a waste of time, but I think it's important to figure out how to narrow these things down. And there you can see the subject, cows. So we just need to resolve the cow versus cows description, regardless of whether there's one or two cows in the picture. I think it's useful. So that's just another area where we need more consistency, and the sort of slow work when you have, 15,000 images or something in a collection, of figuring out where, and some of them you only discover if people discover them and let us know about them. So there are ways through the catalog, which maybe Julie can show us, for how to report such things. So if we go back to the Emmerich collection, and scroll down to the second picture. This is a shot by Emmerich of the 1936 flood, which is one of the most documented natural disasters in local history, and one which led to the rerouting of the Mill River away from downtown. This immediately made me think, oh, well, how many other, because we have thousands and thousands of images that have not been entered into Argus that we've scanned over the years, but at the time we were scanning them for a specific project or to put them on social media or for a patron. So we need to figure out what to add, and I wondered what was in our collection of our other hundreds of photographs of the 1936 flood. So if we just, again, return to general search 1936 flood, we get the Coolidge Bridge reopening after the 36 flood, the flood level marker on Pleasant Street near the watering hole, and then a number of images. Now you'll notice with a lot of these results that this fourth field over where it says object ID begins NO box 11, and that is just because in our collection most of the photographs of natural disasters are located in the same physical box, which happens to be NO box 11. So you can also use that as a search. You could search by object ID, but again, just a general search does bring up a ton of results, including a lot of flood photos. Let's see if it opens this one, because it's much more dramatic when it's large. So this one is of the Stone Bridge in Leeds in the days after the 1874 flood. I don't know if I'll have the patience to wait for it, but yeah, there you go. So, and when you do bring these in, you can zoom in considerably. You can see all the folks. You can see the complete devastation. Next year will be a significant anniversary of the flood, and there's going to be a lot of programming, which Forbes will be working with Historic Northampton and some groups in Williamsburg to commemorate this anniversary. But it's just a remarkable photograph, which really shows the scale, even downstream in Leeds, of devastation. So we are looking forward to putting more audiovisual content into the new system. Argus itself does not host large files, but you can embed them using wherever the video lives online. So if we search for flood film, you can see there's a couple photographs which come up because the object name includes the word film, but you can also see a 16 millimeter film which was taken of the aftermath of the flood in 1936 by Aubrey Butler, who was a local florist and film hobbyist. And what I like about this, I don't know why it appears twice here, but what I like about this is you can actually start playing it straight from the page. And then say you thought, okay, well, this is worth watching. If you click on YouTube from here, we'll load the page and Wonder of Wonders, it will pick up exactly where you were in the video, which is, the early days of the internet, we dreamed of such things. So that's a favorite. So here's another cataloging thing I discovered in preparing for this. You can see that the collection it's listed in is Forbes Library photographs. So that was probably just how it ended up initially, and something that we can edit and change quickly, but only discover when we really dive in and start investigating all these things. So if you do click on Forbes Library photographs, you'll find that the entire rest of the collection is photographs of the building, photographs of staff, some of our most beloved images of early cyanotypes of staff. I was just showing some of our staff in the Hampshire room, some of the early diaries and notes written by these same people depicted in these pictures, which were taken from between 1895 and 1905. Let's see if that one loads so we can take a little bit closer look. So these images will show staff having an ice cream party in the basement, a very famous picture of, to us at least, of staff dancing in the empty arts and music floor, posing amidst the ruins of the Turner House, which was the house that used to stand behind the library here. 3 early staff members who made up the Trinity, who were longtime staff for the first 20 years here. Ooh, that's it. What? Yeah, I'm not sure why, but you can see them here. And then this one here is them playing poker, supposedly, downstairs, and it's titled The Gamblers on the back. So also because of these, we have all the names of these folks, which is another project we've been working on, especially Julie, with students, to try to identify as many people, especially women, who are depicted in the photographs and often went unlabeled or only had their husband's name. So that's more ongoing work you've been doing. And I would just end by saying, if you do find an image that you particularly love, or it's relevant to research you're doing right now, but you want to find more than one, you can use the Save to Favorites selection down at the bottom, which would then add it to the My Favorites list you'd find up on the top. And also you could click on Submit Request if you wanted to get a high quality scan of the image, or you wanted permission to publish it, or anything like that. So I will turn it over to Julie now to tell us more about the Coolidge Collections and Argus.
Hello. So I have the pleasure of telling you a little more about what's in here for Coolidge materials. So total in here is just under 15,000 records at this point, and a little over 5,000 of them are part of our Coolidge Museum collections. The most useful way for getting at just Coolidge materials separate from any local history is using the advanced search function. And as we saw a little bit earlier, our object ID, which is just its catalog number, all the Coolidge ones start with a CC and a colon. So having that at the bottom of your search will be most helpful to bring up only our Coolidge things. So as an example, Rob Roy, who was Grace Coolidge's most beloved pet dog, as well. So searching that will only bring up Rob Roy the dog. So this is Rob Roy and Grace Coolidge on the White House lawn. So this is probably our most widely used photograph of the two of them together. And you can see in that as subject headings is Rob Roy dog. And so we do have all the pets named in the catalog. We've done a lot of work in the last couple of years to identify and name each pet by name as well. For these One of the things here, you can see a lot of different subjects, dogs, animals, pets, is an entire collection of just pets. So if you want to search of other Coolidge dogs, cats, raccoons, there was lions sent to the White House that became part of the National Zoo collection. And so there's a huge variety to search for in there. So we have a lot of people who have fun just searching the pets, and they were known to have more pets than any other president, so. Today happens to be their son John Coolidge's birthday. So in searching for images for him, and a general search with just his name seemed to come up with too many things, and I was looking for a particular image, so we can also search by date and put in his birth year. So I'll bring up just his baby picture as well. So this is Grace with infant John, and this was their first photo together, first formal portrait together. The date functions, we still have a lot of work to do with some projects to identify the dates. Some have a range, and some have a much more specific date as well. So in the date searching functions, it has early and late date as options, so you can give it a pretty wide range. So searching with Coolidge things, you can put 1920 when he's vice president, up to 1929 when he leaves the presidency. So you can search the entire administrative range by narrowing to those dates as well. So we have, as Dylan alluded to, we've done a big project in the last 2 years with some of our Smith College work study students and a whole crew of volunteers to identify names of people. And we've been working especially where we only had women listed as Miss or Mrs., and to be able to add those first names. We started working now this summer on all the ones where we had a Mr. and no first name. So we're still going through and constantly adding to those names as well. For those, if you do see something where somebody's not identified or you have other information, there is an option under the photo to, it says click here to contribute more information, and it brings you to a little form that sends us an email, and so you can add additional information to that. If this is an ancestor of yours you happen upon, if you're doing genealogy research and you have more material, more information, or we have something labeled wrong, we welcome you to send us more information to add to this as well. You can also, it does allow you to add images, so you could, if you have additional images of the person, you can add those in too, and we always are adding more physical as well as digital items to the collection too. For this, there is an email button, so you could email this to yourself, you could email it to a friend, and it'll send them a note. You can put a little note in it as well, and it'll send the link directly to just this photo. And the little share button just brings you to just that record, and it brings you to just a permanent link at the top, so you can share just the URL that goes directly to that photograph. For these, most of the images for Coolidge, we are now copyright-wise into public domain, so a lot of things are freely available. There are still some restrictions and some things you might see a note in the description of who the copyright holder would be, but we do allow you to download an image as well. So the image file you can click on and you can download the, it's a JPEG image, and share that and use that for your own personal use as well. We do have, for most things, we do have a high resolution file, so if you wanted to publish something or do more with it or maybe make a poster or something, you can contact us again, either direct email or through the little form if there's something that you're looking for, an even better version of the image. We've also done some interesting projects in recent years around different subject headings as we've explored changing language, changing words, but also subject-wise too. And one thing we worked with several antique car clubs and collectors of old cars looking at what are these cars, because we were getting frequent questions of what kind of car is that? So we did some work with a Packard club 2 years ago while people were home in COVID and a little bored. And we were working online with a Packard car club to identify some of the cars in our collections. We had a bunch of photographs that alluded to what they were, and we had a large group of people who were identifying them. So we've been able to add back into the record that this particular one is a 1934 Packard 12 convertible coupe. And so samples of images as well. So we have more to come. We're currently working with a group on some of the Lincoln cars, as Coolidge had a Lincoln limousine as president, which he purchased after the presidency and brought back home to Northampton. And so we've worked with some images there as well to identify that car in images, as well as other Lincolns that were used throughout the White House fleet. And just one last one. We have both Calvin Coolidge and his son John went to Amherst College. So we do have quite a bit of their time at Amherst represented in the collection for both of them. We do have his portrait from his senior year of college. So the top hat and cane from 1895 as well. It's a pretty commonly used, we get a lot of requests to publish that image. Oops. Went back too far. You do see not just photos, but we do have several scrapbook collections that have news clippings in there as well. Some of them were made by our early librarian, Joseph Harrison. Some were compiled by White House staff and added to our collections as well. One we have here is son John Coolidge attending Amherst as well. So there's material there. And we've been working, Amherst Archives has been identifying the background and a lot of the buildings in those images as well. So we've been utilizing their work study students and their archives as well to contribute to the records. A few things you will notice, we don't have a lot of manuscript collections in here yet, but if you do come across something that manuscript, you might see just a short little record like this, and these were put into our old system transcribed from old catalog cards. And so they're just a basic little description of the collection. For these, you can feel free to click on Submit Request and contact us more information, whether there's a finding aid, or for some of the collections, we scan on demand. And we'll go ahead and scan those, get those to you, and then be able to add those back into the system as well. In this one, you'll just see most of location-wise. It just says Coolidge Vaults. Everything's stored right here on site. We don't have a big off-site storage, and everything's available for in-person use too, but remotely we do a lot of scanning as requested too. So if you don't see something in there, we have, I would say for the photograph collection, about 90% of them do have an image, so it's pretty rare you don't see an image as we're working through those to finish scanning ones that didn't transfer from our old system. And then a lot of the manuscript ones or objects we're continuing to add in the actual images too. So I think that's just a little tour and some fun of what's in here. And I think we can take some questions from people, or anybody has a sample search they want us to do, or ask any questions about how to play in here. Oh, the cane from the photo? Do we have the cane in the collection? We do not have that cane in the collection. We have a lot of hats, some of which are on display here in front of you, and then we have more in our collection as well. But unfortunately, we don't have that cane, so that would be a cool thing. But we do have a variety of things, even in photos, where it's like, you know, we have the actual objects as well. In the system, we're still working on putting the links between the objects and the images for some of them. So some of them you'll see in the record, there'll be a link to click on to either the photo of the object or back and forth as well. Sometimes you'll also see notes in the description because of the way it transferred from our old system, where it says, you know, similar to or same scene as, and it'll just give you a number, and you can search that number. Sometimes you can click on them, but sometimes they're not a live link, and we'd have to search with just that catalog number. So, yes. Yes, so Historic Northampton also switched to this product as well. So we explored that, you know, together, trying to find new products as we toured in early COVID of demoing all kinds of different software options. And so Historic Northampton uses the same system. They're not linked together, so you can't do a search across both organizations at the same time, but theirs looks similar, and searching would be the same way as well. So they are fortunate. They've just put thousands of things online as well. So if you're searching Northampton history, millions of things are now at your fingertips from anywhere in the world. Well, thank you for joining us. And certainly, if you are exploring this, right at the top of the screen, you'll see a big button that says survey to fill out. There's a paper survey here in person as well. But we do encourage you to also, anytime that you're playing in this system, or if you're joining us at home or watching a recording of this, to go ahead and fill out the survey. And just that feedback is helpful we've had some grants to help fund projects like this, and that feedback helps inform our funders. We do have a bookmarks with the link to the catalog, so feel free to take some of those with you, so when you're exploring and playing at home, you remember where to go, or share them with friends.